Imagine waking up in the morning feeling peaceful. You check your phone and see a message that would normally upset you. Maybe someone ignored your effort. Maybe a friend said something that felt disrespectful. Maybe a coworker criticized your work. For a brief moment, you feel the familiar wave of emotion rising inside you. Your heart beats a little faster. Your mind begins creating arguments. You start imagining what you should say back. But this time, something is different. Instead of reacting immediately, you simply notice what is happening inside you. You take one slow breath. You wait. A few minutes later, the emotion begins to lose its strength. What felt urgent no longer feels so important. Nothing outside of you changed. Only your response changed. And somehow, everything feels different. Welcome. Today, we're going to explore one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. Learning how to control emotions by choosing not to react immediately. This doesn't mean becoming cold, distant, or emotionless. It doesn't mean pretending nothing hurts. It doesn't mean allowing people to treat you badly. Instead, it means discovering the quiet space between what happens to you and how you respond. Research suggests that people who pause before reacting often make wiser decisions, experience healthier relationships, and recover from stressful situations more quickly. Psychologists observe that emotional regulation is less about eliminating feelings and more about learning how to work with them instead of against them. Here's something many people misunderstand. Emotions are not the enemy. Anger tells us something feels unfair. Fear tries to keep us safe. Sadness reminds us what matters. Joy encourages connection. Every emotion has a purpose. Problems begin when emotions become our driver instead of our guide. Think of emotions like weather. Some days are bright. Some days are stormy. If you try to control the weather, you'll only become exhausted. But you can decide whether to walk into the storm without an umbrella. You can decide whether to wait for the rain to pass. Life works much the same way. Throughout this audiobook, we'll explore why our minds react so quickly, why slowing down is actually a sign of strength, and how ordinary people learn to respond with calm even during difficult moments. Along the way, you'll hear simple stories, practical ideas, and gentle reflections that you can apply in your own life. There is no pressure to become perfect. The goal is simply to become a little more aware today than yesterday. Because emotional control isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in hundreds of small moments that most people never notice. Now, take a slow breath. Allow your shoulders to relax. There is nowhere else you need to be. Let's begin.
Chapter 1. The tiny pause that changes everything. Most reactions happen faster than we realize. Someone interrupts us. Someone criticizes us. A driver cuts us off in traffic. A family member forgets something important. Before we even realize it, words are already leaving our mouth. Later, we wonder why we said them. Studies show that our brains are designed to respond quickly to possible threats. Thousands of years ago, this helped humans survive dangerous environments. Quick reactions often meant staying alive. But today's world is different. Most of the challenges we face are not life-threatening. An email isn't a tiger. A disagreement isn't an attack. A delayed reply isn't necessarily rejection. Yet our minds sometimes respond as if they are. Now, you might be wondering, if reactions happen automatically, how can anyone control them? The answer is surprisingly simple. You don't control the first emotion. You control what happens next. Imagine throwing a pebble into a lake. The first splash happens immediately. The ripples continue only because nothing interrupts them. Emotions work in a similar way. The first feeling often appears automatically, but every thought we add afterward creates another ripple. He shouldn't have said that. This always happens to me. I'm going to prove them wrong. They don't respect me. Before long, one small event becomes an emotional storm. Here's where it gets interesting. Research suggests that even a brief pause can interrupt this chain reaction. Not forever, just for a few seconds. Those few seconds give your thinking mind time to catch up with your emotional mind. And those seconds can completely change the outcome. I'd like to share a simple story. A man named Daniel had recently started a new job. He worked hard. He stayed late. He wanted to make a good impression. One afternoon, his manager looked at his report and said only one sentence. "This needs more work." Daniel immediately felt embarrassed. His mind translated those 4 words into something much larger. "I'm failing. They regret hiring me. I'm not good enough." For a moment, he wanted to defend himself. He wanted to explain how much effort he had invested. Instead, he remembered something a friend once told him. When emotions rise, let silence speak first. So he simply nodded. He took a slow breath. He asked one question. "Could you show me which parts need improvement?" The manager smiled. "Of course," she said. Together, they spent 20 minutes improving the report. Later, Daniel discovered that every new employee received similar feedback. The criticism wasn't personal. His interpretation had been. How many arguments begin because we react to our interpretation instead of reality? Probably more than we realize. Pause for a moment. Think about the last time you became upset. What actually happened? And what story did your mind immediately create about it? Sometimes those two things are completely different. Psychologists observe that our brains naturally fill in missing information. If someone doesn't smile, we assume they're angry. If someone doesn't reply quickly, we assume they're ignoring us. If someone seems quiet, we assume we've done something wrong. But assumptions are rarely facts. The pause gives us time to separate one from the other. Let's consider another example. A mother spends the afternoon preparing dinner. Her teenage son walks into the house, looks at the table, grabs some food, and goes straight to his room without saying thank you. She immediately feels hurt. Her first thought is, "He doesn't appreciate me." Her frustration grows. She's ready to lecture him. Instead, she waits. Later that evening, she discovers he had failed an important exam and felt too ashamed to talk to anyone. His silence wasn't disrespect. It was disappointment. One pause prevented an unnecessary conflict. Life quietly offers moments like this every single day. The people who appear calm aren't necessarily different from everyone else. They simply practice waiting before deciding what something means. And waiting is a skill, like learning a musical instrument, like exercising, like planting a garden. Feels awkward at first, but over time it becomes natural. So here's a gentle practice you can begin today. Whenever you notice a strong emotion rising, silently ask yourself 3 simple questions. What am I feeling? What story am I telling myself? What else could be true? There is no need to answer perfectly. Simply asking these questions slows the mind, creates space, and in that space, wisdom often appears. Remember, emotional strength doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes emotional strength is nothing more than choosing not to send the text, not raising your voice, not making assumptions, not trying to win every argument. Sometimes strength is quiet. Sometimes strength is invisible. And often, those invisible moments shape our lives more than the loud ones ever could. Take another slow breath. Notice how you're feeling right now. There's no need to change anything. Just notice. Chapter 2. Understanding your emotional triggers. Take a slow breath. Before we move forward, pause for just a moment. Think about the last time you reacted more strongly than you expected. Perhaps it was a short comment from someone you care about. Perhaps someone ignored your message. Maybe a stranger spoke to you in a rude tone. Or perhaps nothing dramatic happened at all. Maybe you simply felt overwhelmed by several small frustrations that built up throughout the day. Now ask yourself one simple question. Was it really that single moment that created your emotional reaction? Or had the emotion been building long before that? Research suggests that our strongest emotional reactions are rarely caused by one event alone. More often, they are connected to experiences, memories, expectations, or fears that have quietly accumulated over time. Psychologists observe that every person has emotional triggers. A trigger is simply something that activates a strong emotional response. The trigger itself is not the real problem. The real challenge is that most of us never notice our triggers until after we've reacted. Imagine carrying a backpack every day. At first, someone places one small stone inside. It doesn't feel heavy. Then another. and another. Over the years, more stones are added. Disappointments, embarrassing moments, broken trust, fear of failure, the pressure to succeed, the desire to be accepted. Eventually, someone accidentally bumps into you. You become angry, but was it the bump that hurt? Or was it the weight you had already been carrying? Life often works the same way. Here's a story that might sound familiar. A woman named Sarah worked hard every day. She wanted to be dependable. Whenever someone needed help, she said yes. She rarely complained. She rarely rested. One afternoon, after finishing several tasks, a coworker casually said, "I thought you'd finished that earlier." It was only one sentence, but Sarah felt a wave of frustration rise almost instantly. She wanted to argue. She wanted to defend herself. Later that evening, she reflected on what had happened. She realized the comment wasn't what upset her most. It simply touched an old fear, the fear of never being good enough. The trigger wasn't the coworker's words. The trigger was the meaning her mind attached to those words. Many of us do the same thing without realizing it. Someone disagrees with us. We hear rejection. Someone offers advice. We hear criticism. Someone is quiet. We hear disappointment. Someone forgets to invite us. We hear, "You don't belong." Yet those messages often exist only in our interpretation. Now, you might be wondering, how do I discover my own triggers? A helpful place to begin is curiosity instead of judgment. The next time you experience a strong emotion, ask yourself gently, what does this situation remind me of? Not, what's wrong with me? But, what might this feeling be connected to? Sometimes the answer arrives immediately. Sometimes it doesn't. That's perfectly okay. Self-awareness grows slowly. Imagine standing beside a quiet lake. When the water is disturbed, it's difficult to see beneath the surface. But when everything becomes still, hidden details begin to appear. Your mind is much like that lake. The calmer you become, the more clearly you understand yourself. Research suggests that naming emotions can reduce their intensity. Instead of saying, "I'm falling apart," try saying, "I'm feeling disappointed." Instead of, "Everything is ruined," try, "I'm feeling anxious right now." The difference may seem small, but words shape experience. When we describe emotions accurately, they become easier to understand. And what we understand feels less overwhelming. Here's another example. Michael had always believed he handled stress well. Then one day, while helping his daughter with homework, she became frustrated and said, "You never explain things right." Michael immediately raised his voice. The room became silent. Later, he apologized. As he reflected on the moment, he realized something surprising. Growing up, he had often been told he wasn't smart enough. His daughter's comment had unintentionally reopened an old wound. She wasn't attacking him. She was expressing frustration. His reaction came from the past, not the present. How often does this happen in our own lives? How often do yesterday's experiences shape today's reactions? More often than we realize. So here's a simple practice. For the next few days, keep a small notebook or use the Notes app on your phone. Whenever a strong emotion appears, write down 3 things. What happened? What emotion did I feel? What story did my mind immediately create? Don't try to fix anything. Simply observe. Over time, patterns begin to emerge. You may discover that criticism affects you more than disagreement, or that being ignored feels more painful than being corrected. These discoveries are not weaknesses. They are invitations to understand yourself more deeply. And understanding is the first step toward lasting emotional freedom. Take another slow breath. Notice that becoming aware of your triggers doesn't make you more emotional. It makes you more prepared. Because once you recognize the spark, you are far less likely to let it become a wildfire. Chapter 3. The stories your mind creates. Let's continue with another important idea. Events happen. Then our minds explain them. The explanation often feels so automatic that we mistake it for reality. But they are not always the same thing. Imagine receiving a short text message from a close friend. Simply says, "We need to talk." Nothing more. Immediately, your mind begins working. Did I do something wrong? Are they upset with me? Is something bad about to happen? For the next hour, you feel anxious. Your heart beats faster. You replay recent conversations. Then you finally meet your friend. They smile and say, "I wanted to ask if you'd like to travel together next month." The event never changed. Only the story did. Studies show that the human brain naturally fills gaps in information. It prefers certainty over uncertainty, even when that certainty is based on assumptions rather than facts. Psychologists observe that people often react not to reality itself, but to the meaning they assign to reality. This is why two people can experience the same situation in completely different ways. Imagine two employees receiving identical feedback. The first thinks, "My manager wants me to improve." The second thinks, "My manager believes I'm a failure." The feedback is identical. The emotional experience is completely different. Here's where it gets interesting. Your mind is not trying to deceive you. It's trying to protect you. It constantly predicts what might happen next. Sometimes those predictions are useful. Sometimes they are completely inaccurate. The goal is not to stop thinking. The goal is to become aware that your thoughts are only one possible explanation, not necessarily the truth. Picture yourself walking through a forest at dusk. In the distance, you notice a dark shape. For a moment, you think it's a dangerous animal. Your body becomes tense. As you move closer, you realize it's simply a fallen tree. Your fear disappears almost instantly. Nothing outside changed. Only your understanding changed. Life offers many moments like this. A delayed reply, a serious facial expression, a forgotten invitation, a brief disagreement. Without realizing it, our minds often complete the story before we have all the facts. Now, you might be wondering, if I shouldn't believe every thought, what should I do instead? Begin by becoming a gentle investigator. When a stressful thought appears, ask yourself, what evidence supports this thought? What evidence does not? What are 3 other possible explanations? You don't have to force yourself into positive thinking. You simply allow room for possibility. That small shift creates flexibility, and flexibility creates calm. Here's a fictional story that feels real for many people. Emma had recently started sharing her artwork online. One day she posted a new painting. Hours passed. Very few people responded. She felt discouraged. Her mind quickly concluded, "People don't like my work." She almost deleted everything. The next morning, she discovered that the website had experienced technical problems for several hours. Most of her followers had never even seen the post. Imagine if she had reacted immediately. One assumption could have ended something she loved. How many dreams are abandoned because of stories that were never true? Pause for a moment and think about that. How many times has your mind predicted the worst, only for reality to unfold in a much kinder way, perhaps more often than you remember? This doesn't mean difficult things never happen. Of course they do. But adding imagined suffering to real challenges only makes life heavier. Research suggests that people who regularly question their automatic assumptions tend to experience lower levels of chronic stress and greater emotional resilience over time. That doesn't happen overnight. It's built through small daily habits. One thoughtful question, one patient pause, one calmer response at a time. As this chapter comes to a close, remember this simple idea. Events speak quietly. Our minds often speak loudly. The more you learn to separate the two, the more peaceful your life can become. Take one final slow breath before we continue. In the next chapter, we'll explore how patience becomes a hidden form of strength, and why choosing not to react immediately often gives you more influence, clearer thinking, and greater confidence than reacting ever could. Chapter 4. The Quiet Strength of Patience. There is a common misunderstanding about patience. Many people imagine patience as simply waiting. Waiting in a long line. Waiting for a reply. Waiting for life to become easier. But real patience is something much deeper. It is the ability to remain steady while your emotions are asking you to act immediately. Think about a large tree standing in an open field. On calm days, almost anyone could stand beside it without noticing its strength. But when a storm arrives, the tree bends with the wind instead of fighting it. It doesn't panic because the weather has changed. It doesn't try to stop the wind. It simply stays rooted until the storm passes. People can learn to do the same. Research suggests that moments of emotional intensity rarely stay at their highest level for very long. Like ocean waves, emotions rise, reach a peak, and slowly fade. The challenge is that many of us make important decisions while the emotional wave is still at its highest point. Imagine trying to judge the shape of a lake while someone is throwing stones into the water. Everything looks distorted. Only when the surface becomes calm can you see clearly beneath it. Our thinking works in much the same way. A story about waiting. A man named Elias owned a small neighborhood cafe. Most days were peaceful. One busy afternoon, a customer became frustrated after waiting several minutes for an order. Without listening to the explanation, the customer raised his voice. Several people turned to watch. For a brief moment, Elias felt embarrassed. His face became warm. His heart began to race. Part of him wanted to argue. Another part wanted to prove that the customer was wrong. Instead, he quietly took one slow breath. He waited, not because he was weak, not because he agreed, but because he knew that speaking while angry rarely solves anything. After a few seconds, he calmly explained that another employee had experienced a medical emergency in the kitchen and everyone was helping. The customer's expression immediately changed. "I didn't know," he said softly. "I'm sorry." If Elias had reacted with anger, the conversation would probably have become a conflict. Instead, patience gave both people an opportunity to understand each other. Patience did not change the situation, changed the outcome. Now, you might be wondering, what if the other person never apologizes? That is an important question. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes people misunderstand us. Sometimes they leave without recognizing the pain they caused. Patience is not a strategy for changing other people. It is a way of protecting your own peace. When your emotional well-being depends on someone else's behavior, your peace becomes difficult to keep. But when your peace comes from your own response, you carry it with you wherever you go. That doesn't mean accepting unfair treatment. There are moments when you should speak honestly. There are moments when healthy boundaries are necessary. The difference is this: a patient response comes from clarity. A reaction comes from emotional pressure. One builds respect. The other often creates regret. The space between feeling and action. Here's a simple image to remember. Imagine holding a cup filled to the very top with water. If someone bumps into you, the water spills out. What spills out depends on what was already inside. Life constantly bumps into us. Unexpected bills, traffic, criticism, disappointment, stress. If frustration has been quietly building for weeks, it may spill out over something very small. That is why emotional control is not only about difficult conversations. It is also about caring for yourself every day. Enough rest, healthy relationships, moments of silence, time away from constant distraction. Research suggests that chronic stress makes emotional reactions stronger and more frequent. A tired mind often reacts faster than a rested one. Sometimes the greatest act of emotional intelligence is simply recognizing that you need to slow down. Not because you're failing, because you're human. A gentle reflection. Think back over the past week. Was there a moment when you answered too quickly? Sent a message you later wished you had rewritten? Made an assumption before knowing the whole story? Almost everyone has. The goal isn't to erase those moments. The goal is to learn from them. Each experience becomes another opportunity to strengthen the habit of pausing. Every pause is like placing another stone into the foundation of a calmer life. One stone may not seem important, but over time, those small choices become unshakable strength. Take one slow breath. Notice how different patience feels from simply doing nothing. Patience is active. It is quiet. And often, it is one of the strongest decisions a person can make. In the next chapter, we'll discover how choosing thoughtful responses instead of automatic reactions can transform relationships, reduce unnecessary conflict, and help us become the kind of person others naturally trust. Chapter 5. Choosing your response. Let's begin with a simple idea. Every single day, life asks us hundreds of small questions. Most of those questions are never spoken aloud. Someone disagrees with you. How will you respond? Someone forgets to thank you. How will you respond? Plan falls apart. How will you respond? These moments may seem ordinary, but together they shape the direction of your life. Many people believe that confidence means always having the perfect answer. In reality, confidence often looks much quieter. It is the ability to remain calm long enough to choose your next step instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. Research suggests that people who regularly pause before responding tend to communicate more clearly, solve problems more effectively, and experience less unnecessary conflict. The pause itself is small, but its impact can be enormous. The difference between reacting and responding. Imagine two doors standing side by side. The first door opens automatically. Someone pushes it, and it swings open without resistance. This is what reacting often looks like. An event happens. An emotion appears. A response follows almost instantly. The second door is different. Before it opens, it pauses for just a moment. Not because it is broken, because it was designed with intention. Responding works the same way. You still feel the emotion. You still notice the situation. But instead of acting immediately, you allow yourself a brief moment to think. That moment may last only 5 seconds. Yet those 5 seconds can change an entire conversation. A conversation that could have gone wrong. Consider the story of Maya. She had spent several weeks preparing a presentation for her team. She worked late into the evenings. She checked every detail carefully. When presentation day arrived, everything seemed to go well. Afterward, one colleague said, "I think the introduction could have been shorter. Only one sentence. Nothing more." Immediately, Maya felt disappointed. Part of her wanted to explain every decision she had made. Another part wanted to withdraw and avoid speaking for the rest of the day. Instead, she remembered a question she had been practicing. "What can I learn before I decide how to feel?" So she smiled and asked, "What part felt too long to you?" The conversation changed immediately. Her colleague wasn't criticizing her effort. He simply believed that shortening the beginning would give more time for discussion. Maya left with a useful idea instead of carrying unnecessary frustration. The difference wasn't the feedback. The difference was her response. The 3-breath practice. Now, you might be wondering, what can I actually do in the moment? One helpful habit is surprisingly simple. Before responding to something emotionally difficult, take 3 slow breaths. The first breath reminds you to pause. The second breath reminds you to observe. The third breath reminds you to choose. It may sound too simple to matter, but simple habits repeated consistently often create the biggest changes. The goal isn't to eliminate emotion. The goal is to create enough space for wisdom to join the conversation. Listening before defending. One of the most powerful emotional skills is learning to listen without immediately preparing a defense. This doesn't mean agreeing with everything people say. It means giving yourself permission to understand before deciding. Imagine standing in front of a painting. If you only look at one corner, you miss the bigger picture. Conversations are similar. When emotions become intense, we often focus on one sentence and ignore everything else. Listening patiently allows the full picture to appear. Psychologists observe that many disagreements continue not because people refuse to listen, but because each person is busy preparing their next argument instead of trying to understand. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer another person is your full attention. And sometimes the greatest gift you can offer yourself is resisting the urge to interrupt your own thinking with immediate conclusions. A lesson from an old garden. Several years ago, an elderly man spent every afternoon caring for a small garden behind his home. A young neighbor once asked him, "How do your flowers grow so well?" The old man smiled. "I don't pull on them," he said. The young neighbor looked confused. The man continued, "I water them. I remove weeds. I give them sunlight. Then I let time do its work." Emotional growth is remarkably similar. Many people try to force themselves to become calm overnight. They become frustrated when old habits return. But lasting change rarely happens all at once. It grows quietly. One thoughtful pause, one calmer conversation, one better decision, then another, and another. Eventually, what once required great effort begins to feel natural. Responding to yourself. There is one conversation we often forget. The conversation happening inside our own minds. After making a mistake, many people speak to themselves more harshly than they would ever speak to a close friend. I always ruin everything. I'm not good enough. I'll never change. Research suggests that self-compassion supports emotional resilience far more effectively than constant self-criticism. Imagine encouraging yourself the way you would encourage someone you deeply care about. Not by ignoring mistakes, but by recognizing that mistakes are part of learning. You can be honest with yourself without being cruel to yourself. That simple shift changes the emotional climate of your entire day. A small practice for tomorrow. Tomorrow, choose one ordinary moment to practice responding instead of reacting. Perhaps someone interrupts you. Perhaps your plans change unexpectedly. Perhaps you receive feedback you didn't expect. When that moment arrives, remember these 4 steps. Pause, breathe, observe, choose. Nothing more. Don't expect perfection. Expect practice. Each time you do this, you strengthen a habit that becomes easier with repetition. Think of it as exercising a muscle. At first, it feels unfamiliar. Over time, it becomes part of who you are. Closing reflection. As this chapter comes to an end, remember something important. The goal is not to become someone who never feels anger, disappointment, or fear. Those emotions are part of being human. The real goal is to become someone whose emotions no longer make every important decision. Because when your responses are guided by awareness instead of impulse, you begin to create a different kind of life. A life with fewer regrets, more meaningful conversations, stronger relationships, and a deeper sense of inner peace. Take one slow, comfortable breath. Allow these ideas to settle. In the next and final chapter, we'll bring everything together and explore how small daily choices gradually shape a calm, resilient, and emotionally balanced life, one response at a time. Chapter 6. Becoming the calm in the storm. As we reach the final chapter, I'd like to ask you to picture something simple. Imagine standing on a hill just before sunrise. The sky is still dark, but a thin line of light is beginning to appear on the horizon. Nothing dramatic has happened yet. The world hasn't suddenly transformed, but you know the morning is coming. Personal growth often feels the same way. Most of the important changes in our lives happen quietly. There is no applause, no audience, no instant transformation. There are only small choices, made one after another, until one day you realize you are handling life differently than you once did. Research suggests that lasting emotional growth is usually the result of consistent habits rather than dramatic breakthroughs. Small improvements, repeated over time, create meaningful and lasting change. When you first began listening, we talked about the power of not reacting. By now, you may see that not reacting doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming intentional. There is a world of difference between those two ideas. A passive person avoids life. An intentional person engages with life but chooses how. That choice is where your greatest strength lives. The person you are becoming. Let's return to someone we've met before in different forms. Imagine Daniel, who once took criticism personally. Imagine Sarah, who discovered that old fears were influencing present conversations. Imagine Elias, who chose patience instead of anger. Imagine Maya, who asked questions before becoming defensive. None of them became emotionally balanced overnight. They still had difficult days. They still felt frustration. They still made mistakes. But something had changed. Instead of asking, "How do I stop feeling this?" they began asking, "What is this feeling trying to teach me?" That single question changed the direction of their lives. Can change yours as well. Every emotion carries information. Fear may invite preparation. Sadness may reveal what truly matters. Frustration may point toward an unmet need. Disappointment may remind us to adjust our expectations. The emotion itself is not the problem. The invitation is to listen before you act. Quiet morning. Picture an ordinary morning. You wake up a little later than planned. The traffic is heavier than usual. Your phone battery is nearly empty. Someone sends a message that feels a little unfair. None of these moments are extraordinary, and yet they are exactly the moments that shape your character. Most of life is not made of major events. It is made of ordinary moments. The person who learns to stay steady during ordinary moments often discovers unexpected strength during extraordinary ones. Think of an experienced sailor. They do not wait for a storm before learning how to steer a boat. They practice on calm days. In the same way, emotional balance is built in everyday situations. The delayed train, the long queue, the unexpected change of plans, the small misunderstanding. These moments become opportunities to practice, not because they are enjoyable, but because they prepare you for life's bigger challenges. Your circle of influence. There is another idea worth remembering. Every day we spend energy on things we cannot control. The weather, other people's opinions, unexpected delays, past mistakes, the choices others make. Trying to control these things often leaves us exhausted. Instead, gently bring your attention back to what you can influence. Your breathing, your words, your actions, your attitude, your willingness to listen, your decision to pause. This doesn't solve every problem, but it does give you something valuable, a sense of direction. When your attention stays focused on what you can actually influence, life begins to feel less overwhelming. You stop fighting every wave. You begin learning how to navigate them. A letter to your future self. Imagine writing a letter to yourself 1 year from today. What would you hope has changed? Perhaps you would write, "I hope you worry less. I hope you sleep more peacefully. I hope difficult conversations no longer frighten you. I hope you've learned to forgive yourself for small mistakes. I hope you smile more often." None of these hopes require a completely different life. They begin with small decisions made today. The next time someone speaks sharply to you, pause. The next time disappointment visits, breathe. The next time anger appears, listen before you answer. These moments may seem insignificant, but together they become the story of who you are becoming. A daily practice. Before we finish, I'd like to leave you with a simple routine. You can practice it in less than 5 minutes each day. At the end of your day, find a quiet place. Take a comfortable seat. Close your eyes if that feels natural. Ask yourself these 4 questions. What brought me peace today? What challenged my emotions today? How did I respond? If I could relive one moment, what would I do differently? There is no need to judge your answers. Simply notice them. Over time, these reflections become a gentle teacher. You begin recognizing patterns. You begin noticing progress. And perhaps most importantly, you begin treating yourself with patience instead of criticism. Growth becomes something you observe rather than something you force. A final reflection. As we come to the end of our time together, remember this: you cannot stop every difficult emotion from appearing. No one can. You cannot control every word people speak. You cannot prevent every disappointment. But you can learn to create a small space between what happens and what you choose to do next. That space may last only a few seconds. Yet within those few seconds lives wisdom, freedom, choice, and peace. Every calm response plants a seed. Every thoughtful pause strengthens your character. Every moment of patience becomes an investment in the person you are becoming. There will still be challenging days. There will still be misunderstandings. There will still be moments when you react before you have time to think. When that happens, remember that emotional growth is not measured by perfection. It is measured by your willingness to begin again, and again. So as you leave this audiobook, carry one simple thought with you. You do not need to control the world around you to experience greater peace. You only need to become a little more intentional with the world within you. Thank you for spending this time reflecting, learning, and growing. May your days become a little calmer. May your conversations become a little kinder. May your decisions become a little wiser. And whenever life invites you to react without thinking, may you remember the quiet strength of a single pause. Sometimes that pause is all it takes to change the rest of the story. Thank you for listening.